Here we are doing another episode of On Air with the Noels. We want to thank y'all for tuning in to our trio podcast. I'm going to call it a trio podcast of the Noel siblings, minus one. He is working today, and he's working hard. So
yeah, that man's the hardest working Noel.
So I want to thank you all for tuning into another episode. We're so excited for this conversation this morning. Here we are recording in Miami, in a city that we were born and raised. And so it's so important for us to be able to connect with our audience who are also from here, but who have since branched out across the states, around the world. We wanted to provide an opportunity for you to tap in more on what we're doing. We'll also give some tips and tricks that are going to be super useful for you as you're on your creative journey.
That's good. I love it.
All right. So why don't we dive into it? It is August 28th, 2023. Mm-hmm. And we here. David is in town for a short time.
Hey, a short time, not a long time.
What is he living?
A good time, not a long time.
You came here for a wedding, right?
I did come here for a wedding.
Who was getting married?
It was my mentee from AKSI. It was a very wonderful wedding. It actually was happening on the same day as our anniversary of one year ago, August 27th.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So this weekend has been a celebration of love, of seeing a lot of our very close family, seeing family and very close friends. And
the family that's not so close. The family that's close.
Yeah.
The not so close coming Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Right. So seeing all of our, godchildren and nephews and cousins and friends turn family, like it's been a great weekend.
Well, let's get to the important. Well, I was going to say, how was the best man and maid of honor speech?
It was good.
But
no, it was good. It was good.
It
was very heartfelt. It was heartfelt.
Was it well? Did they prepare well for it? Was it like moving for the entire audience, or?
I think some people were moved to tears.
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 Boohoo. Yeah, it was very emotional.
Jeff likes to do is dissect the performance of speakers. And apparently, speakers at a wedding, like the maid of honor and the best man speech, is one that he wants to break down.
Not break it down.
Do you have a rubric that speakers should
follow? Yeah, you got a rubric in your book bag?
I do have a special occasion speech rubric, but I'm not going to share it now. No, but I think best man and maid of honor speeches are extremely important when deciding who's going to be a best man and maid of honor. Like there has to be like some type of point system. Just because you've known them your entire life, that doesn't mean they should be the best man. Because what if they do a trash speech?
So their ability to do a good speech is going to impact them being chosen to be maid of honor.
100%.
For Jeff specifically, but not in general.
Yeah, for me specifically. I'm just speaking for myself.
Right. Yeah. That's the only person you can speak for. Unless you're speaking for Anderson.
I mean, that's true. I do be speaking for Sosan. But like I say this to say, there was a wedding I went to a few years ago, and the best man, his speech was horrific. Like he spoke about, and I'm saying this not as a public speaking professor at Florida Memorial University, South Florida's only HBCU, but I say that as a casual observer. In the speech, he was like, I didn't prepare anything, and I just want to speak from the heart. And immediately when he said that, I was like, nah.
You said you knew it was going to go downhill.
I knew it was going downhill. I knew, because he's a very honest and straightforward guy. And long story short, he was like, I knew you were the one because when we were in college, you used to come to my dorm and you would cook for me, you would make steak for me and all that. So I know that my best friend is going to be eating good. And I was like, yo, like the entire room, like the oxygen left the room. Yeah, it wasn't good.
Maybe from your perspective, the oxygen left the room. But there's some people that are like basic.
No. Not from my perspective.
No offense to the basic people, but offense.
It was
a hit dog gonna holler.
it was like he had to go on an apology tour. The parents of
did he say offensive things?
That was the offensive thing.
Oh, that he said he know that his best friend is gonna eat good?
Because the girl, his best friend's now wife, used to come to his apartment and make food for him.
Oh, yeah. That's nasty. And that's the only thing he said in the speech?
He said a lot of other stuff, but that's the most memorable.
So you said the most memorable. So the people who are leaving the wedding, maybe a year from now, as they think about it, they're gonna think about
100%.
the speech as
After this, for off air with the Noel, we could
dissect
That's
it
good
more.
after that.
we could call 10 people from that wedding and say, "Yo, what do you think of the wedding?" And they're gonna bring up the speech.
Wait, so
That's crazy.
we have, this is someone within our circle?
Oh yeah, we know them.
Would they be watching this?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's crazy.
I feel like I know which wedding you're talking about. You said last year or 2 years ago?
It was a few years ago.
I think I know whose wedding you're talking about. Was David in attendance?
No,
Oh, then I don't know whose wedding you're talking about.
Debbie doesn't know him personally. You know them personally.
Okay. Well,
Wait, do we know the groom or do we know the best man who gave the speech?
You know nobody.
Oh, okay.
Makisha knows the groom and has a I don't know how much a relationship you have with the wife.
all right.
What's the-
Doesn't matter.
Are we able to tie it back to the original topic? Like we're at a tangent right now.
Oh, yes.
But
I
we're
mean-
talking about communication.
Yeah. And then also, like, our goal is to lean into personal branding a bit because we know, we're about to pull up on the fourth quarter of the year. And so your personal branding has to be airtight, doesn't it?
So what are you saying?
I'm doing my best.
I'm fighting for my life. So what you're saying is that the topic for today is the power of personal branding and unleashing your authenticity. Is that what you're saying?
Are you trying to take my job as the host of this
No,
show?
I'm just trying to better understand what you're trying to communicate to us.
Are you trying to take my...
That's what it seems like. That's what it seems like from this vantage point.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes. So we will be discussing that. I think we should also talk about what we got going on individually.
All right, let's talk about it.
So let's go ahead and start there.
Okay, I can jump in and start. So for me, I have my hands in a couple of things. So as you know, Noel & Co., that's something that we've been working on for a good little minute now. And thinking through how we're building it out, we want to build it out in public and get good feedback and make sure that we're taking into account what the people want to see and hear from us. And so aligning my personal values and the types of content that I've been diving into and thinking about right now, one of the first things that I want to do is pretty much put together a couple of books. So I really enjoy reading, and I've been diving into the classic books.
By put together a couple books, you mean you want to write a couple books? Let's be very clear.
That's like the informal version of saying being an author. I'm gonna put together a couple of books.
like it's Play-Doh, like you want to just
Yeah, I mean that's a really interesting concept of like thinking about yourself as an author. If you write books, then you're an author. So that's a really good distinction. So I appreciate that. So I would like to write a couple of books, and I believe that for me the most important pillars of my life are success, health, wealth, and happiness. And I've been diving into the best books on each one of those topics. And as I talk to people, they're like, oh, I really enjoy how you think, and I really want to read the same books that you're reading. And my recommendation is, while they take a long time, I like to condense the knowledge of those classic books into like one small summarized book. And so one of the things I'm working on is starting off with calling it the Blueprint series and starting off with the Success Blueprint. And the first book would be around the 7 habits of highly effective people, how to win friends and influence people. And what was the third one? Wow.
7 habits of highly effective people. Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. There it is. Think and Grow Rich. So those are like the 3 seminal books on success. And so what I want to do is find the common threads between each one of the books and then put it into one smaller book that is more accessible to people. And the value of that is that you don't have to spend $10, $12 on each one of those books, and you actually get straight to the knowledge, to the wisdom that you can apply directly to your life. So that's the first step, and I want to build Noel & Co. on that foundation of what I believe a lot of people are striving for in life. Like, you can't talk to someone and say, oh, you don't want to be successful, or you don't want to be happy, or you don't want to be wealthy, or you don't want to be healthy or happy. So giving people the tools and the blueprint to navigate to that personal vision of their future, I think is very beneficial. And then besides this on air podcast, I am launching my own solo podcast, which will be coming soon.
Finally.
Oh no. Okay, go ahead. Say it. Finish. Because I wanted to talk more about the book, but
Okay, yeah.
but I ruined your announcement, so I apologize.
Are you sorry?
No, I actually am. I'm very sorry.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about you forgiving in public.
You got to talk about my contrite heart.
Yeah, let's talk about emotional intelligence and self-awareness.
Yeah. I apologize for cutting you off. I know that was a really big announcement, and I just ruined it.
I accept that apology.
You did.
Thank you for facilitating that, Maki. So one of the things that I'm launching is a solo podcast called One on One with David. And my very first episode.
You probably got to redo it.
And so.
Because when you chop it up, you don't want to just.
Yeah, and all yours.
Yeah, so you probably got to run that back.
That's actually a good drum roll. But I don't know if it's actually going to pick up the audio.
As people can tell, we love to enjoy. We love to enjoy. We enjoy going on tangents and seeing where it takes us. So this tangent has taken us this far, and we're coming back now. So one of the things that I'm launching is my own solo podcast called One on One with David, and my very first episode is with Jeff. He's my very first guest. And I'm especially proud that we're able to get the episode done, and maybe we have some behind the scenes, but just whenever we get together and like put these things together, there's so much coordination that goes on behind the scenes of making it happen that I have even more admiration for people who've done podcasts consistently, because everyone is busy. People have different schedules, and to be able to get into the studio at the same time for our podcast episode, it was literally 2 hours before Jeff had to take his flight back home. And so we're like, we need to get into the studio. We need to make this happen. And I'm very proud that we're able to get it done. So I'm very excited about that. And I have a list of very interesting people that I want to talk to. The format of the solo podcast would be similar to the Joe Rogan podcast, where it's just having interesting conversations and going on an intellectual journey. And both of us, me and my guests, not knowing where we're going to end up, but just being one with each other and being authentic and being honest and really, really just saying how we feel and expressing what we want our legacy to be. I think that is my goal for the podcast, and bringing in and exposing people to new ideas and helping them stretch their mind. So those are just a couple of things. That's the tip of the iceberg. And there's so many, spinning plates that I'm working on, but I'm very excited for the direction that Noel & Co is headed. Round of applause. Let me see that clap.
I'm not even familiar with that song.
What?
I'm not familiar with that song.
That's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we could play it later, just so you could familiarize yourself with it.
For off the air? Off there. And,
After dark.
So why success? Going back to the book, why success? Why wealth? Why happiness? I know you said everybody would want those things. So why is it important for you to step outside of your shell and bring those specific topics to the world? Yeah,
that's a good question. To answer the first question around why those specific topics, because I consume so much information, and to take a step back and give you an idea of how I consume information, I took myself off of social media just to gain peace of mind and clarity and to be able to hear my own thoughts. And from there, I fill that time by choosing the type of content that I consume. And so whether it's watching YouTube videos or listening to podcasts or reading books, the type of content that I've chosen to consume have been around those topics. And the more that I consume them, the more that I realize as humans, like when we think about what is our purpose in life, all those things are things that people strive for. People, advertisements are made to attract people to those certain things. Like you're buying a car, why? To signal that you're, successful, to have a fancy car. Or, you buy makeup in order to seem more attractive, to feel happy, to, engage in different relationships. And so all these different topics are topics that a majority of people, if you talk to them and you're like, do you want to be successful? Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be wealthy? Do you want to be healthy? Most people would want those things and would want to strive towards those things. And so in understanding the game that is life that we're playing, it's important to understand the rules of the game. And I think that those are, for me, the pillars for how to understand the rules of life. And your second question was, you said why I chose those topics. Oh, why am I choosing to express them? So as I have a lot of conversations off the air with people, I'm getting feedback on, I've never thought of it that way, or that's really interesting, or I like the way that you think. And so for me, I want to be able to express this to as many people as possible and help as many people as possible who are listening to this and watching this. And I think that's the greatest benefit that we can give to other people, is sharing what we've learned. And if we can help people, like, let's say it took me 10 steps to get to a certain place. If I can give someone an information and it only takes them 7 steps to get there, then I've provided some kind of benefit and some kind of value to the world. And that's my goal.
That's good. I love it.
I wonder if any of your content is going to be around mindset mastery, because 100%. I do think out of the three of us, I think the thing that stands out about you the most is that you're very disciplined. And I'm not saying we don't have any discipline, but like I also think about like your positioning in life. Like you were born first, and mommy and daddy invested a lot in you. And so like one thing that we did a couple years ago was we took the VHS, the thick videos. Gen Z might not know what a VHS is.
They're like, what is a VHS?
I don't know what VHS even stands for, but just know that I know what it is. But we digitized the film that my parents used to record us on when we were much younger. And so I actually was watching some of the footage with my mom the other day, and like our parents literally, like when David was a little baby, they're like, today is this date, and and then there's a video of the next year, and you're bigger, and it's like, today is August 25th, 1 year, 20 days after David was born. Like that's literally what they're saying in the video. Yeah. And so there's like this progression of seeing you get older, and then I came into the picture, and then Chuck came into the picture. Yeah. And so our parents were just really intentional with how they raised us, and so I think you can tell that in how like studious David is, and how much of a voracious reader that he is. That's voracious.
Oh, that's a big word. Voracious.
That's a big word for Elmo.
Speaking of big words, that's why I really enjoy hanging out with Jeff and Brandon. And this is a tangent, and we'll come back to what you're saying about the VHS.
We only got to go on that tangent though, but okay.
I mean, because I wanted to answer some things about that. But as far as the big words, like I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and I was like, for me, I really enjoy words, and I always feel like there's a word that more describes something. So if you can say the word that gets to the truest nature of what you mean, I prefer to use that word. So like voracious is just like, you could have just said, oh, you like to read a lot. But saying voracious is like such a specific word that I really enjoy it. Yeah. So we try to have a word of the day. So today's will be voracious.
Yeah. So I would say that's something that I've definitely recognized about you growing up, and which is why like this podcast and talking through people's legacy and talking through what are the steps it takes to get there align so much with who you already are. And I think we'll probably get into this when we start talking about personal branding as well, is remaining true to your authentic self. And like, I just see how all the dots connect based on the way you grew up and the way you've approached your lifestyle. So I really hope that Mindset Master is a part of it, because I think the reality is that people can get a boatload of information, but still not know how to use it correctly.
Yeah.
And especially when the information is free. Like, let's keep it a buck. If you don't have to pay anything together, so you ain't got no skin in the game, like, you can have the most valuable information in the world in front of you, but still not know what to do with it. So I think there's certain, like, and I don't know if I'm just like making up words, but like mental models. No, mental models is like a real
Yeah, that's
thing.
a good thing. Like mental frameworks.
Yeah, and like we actually talked about this like a couple weeks ago about someone who, about someone we've observed, or I've observed that like I think this person, you know, could use some mental frameworks from the way that they think.
They
about
need to go
things.
to the store to buy some mental frameworks.
Yeah, and like I think in order to be successful and in order to attain the things that you want, how you use the information that you receive is really important.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah,
so I hope
think-
Mindset Mastery is a part of it too.
I think you said a couple of things there. So I definitely agree with the mindset mastery part. And then the second part was on taking action on that. And that is the most important part. If you learn a bunch of things, but you don't do anything with it or your life doesn't change, you really didn't learn anything. Like you're living in your head instead of creating that new future based off of taking action on the knowledge that you received. So mindset is very critical. And that's probably like one of the foundations of being able to change your life and to improve your life. And for me specifically, how I approach my mindset is every morning I go to the gym, and while I'm working out, I'm listening to affirmations. So I'm listening to affirmations about being wealthy or being successful or having worth, having purpose,
Crazy.
being a disciplined person, like visualizing what your life could be like. And so that's the foundation. And then also it's taking the time to remove self-limiting beliefs. So there's like these scripts that run through your mind of, for me, it's always been, oh, you're not creative, or, oh, you're not smart, or, oh, you're not intelligent, or you can't talk, or like certain things like that. And I think a lot of times the most successful people who strive to be at the top of their industry or the top of whatever they're working on probably have like a huge chip on their shoulder that they're like pushing to get past. So for instance, Michael Jordan, he got cut from his high school basketball team and probably someone told, oh, I know how you feel about Michael Jordan.
I think he's a
he's
really good player.
Maybe we could use a LeBron. Maybe we could use a LeBron quote next time. But like Serena, LeBron, like all these people, or Jordan, all these people have like a major chip on their shoulder, and that is literally what drives them. So a lot of times your insecurity or the thing that most insecure about is the thing that you're like, oh, I need to overcome that. I need to prove other people wrong.
What was Michael Jordan's? What was the thing that he was?
Well, he got cut from his basketball team in ninth grade.
So he was hot that he was cut from the team. He was like, nah, I
Hot.
need to.
Yeah, he was like, I deserve a spot on the team.
Hot.
And he worked harder than anyone else.
Anybody else? Yeah.
And now he's like one of the top 5 best basketball players of all time.
Great.
Top
So,
I mean, no, you're not lying.
I know where Jeff's trying to go with
You
this.
said one of the top 5, but
I know where Jeff's trying to go with this, and we're not going to go in that direction.
I'm
This is
just
not going to be a
saying,
debate.
stop.
about
Jeff
the
calling
best
for the
basketball player.
alley-oop.
But I do want to say something though about mindset that I think is incredibly important. So you mentioned how there's one thing about having a bunch of knowledge and knowing what you should be doing and knowing what steps you should take, but then there's another aspect that's action oriented as well, of you actually taking the steps. So I think it's really important for people to know that you don't need to be good at 100 things in order to be successful or in order to be great. Like some of the, what was the term used? Self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Some of the self-limiting beliefs that we say about ourselves can be true. It can be true, but that doesn't mean that should prevent you from starting anyways. Because you don't have to be super creative. You don't have to be super eloquent. You don't have to be super interesting. You don't always have to be organized. Discipline is very important, but you also don't have to be the most disciplined person in the room. But that's where a team comes in. They could fill in the gaps. They could fill in for where you lack. And even if you're not in a position to have a team yet, you could start with the little that you have. Like, for example, we're going to go around and speak about what we're working on. But if I'm to just give a very quick example about Barbershop Speaks, like I don't feel like I'm the most organized person in the world. I don't think I'm that creative. There's a lot of things that it takes for it to be like super, super successful that I don't particularly have the skills for.
That's a good example.
But I went out and did it with the few skills that I do have.
Yeah.
And so the skills that you have is enough to start. So I'm a great speaker. And when I started Barbershop Speaks, I was, for the most part, the one speaking a lot. I have really good relationships. I'm good at forming bonds and relationships. So when I started Barbershop Speaks, I messaged everyone that I know personally, and they came to the event, and that sort of set it off, and they posted it on their social media, and people that didn't know started to see it. I didn't know anything about marketing. That's not my skill. I'm not a great marketer, but because my friends started posting it, it essentially became marketing. And so I say all that to say, you don't need 10, 15 skills. You don't need to be super strong in everything to get started. Just use the small skills that you have, and that's enough to get started.
You talking to the people? You making sure the people hear that?
I hope y'all heard that.
I love that. And that reminds me of a quote as you were talking. I think that people, like you said, people think that you have to be perfect or you have to have everything figured out in order to start. But there's this quote by Stephen Bartlett, who he does his own podcast called The Diary of the CEO. I'm sure you guys have seen his content.
Yeah.
So he had a post on Twitter that said, successful people have mental health issues, bad habits, gaps in their knowledge, moments of self-doubt, procrastination issues, imperfect routines, insecurities, and imposter syndrome too. But they also know that all of these things are perfectly normal. And that is the difference between people who succeed and people who don't. You act despite all of your insecurities, despite you feeling like you can't do it. And then you figure it out on the way.
Yeah. And then I think also everyone just have different versions of success and different ideas of what success is. Because to me, you know, success in terms of career is around like my ability to build the lifestyle that I want, to build the projects that I want to do. Because like technically I could build in a workplace, but it's not in the way that I want it to. Like in every single job that I have, like, while yes, I do have a level of agency, at the end of the day, a lot of it is like what I'm told to do. And you have to create this brief for this specific brand and you have to do this specific thing. But like, I realize that my version of success looks different than, you know, what the next person's version of success might look like. So I think as long as people kind of decide what their version is, like, I think that that's good. But I also am curious to know, like, who is going to be your target audience for the podcast as well. And when it comes to success, and are you talking about success holistically, like in your whole life, or just one specific area? Because I definitely think that I am probably that target audience. 'Cause I could guess what your target audience is, but I still want you to like talk through it as well. But like, you know, the reason why this content would be valuable for someone like me is because I got into the habit of building like for a long time ago. Like I didn't wake up yesterday and become an entrepreneur. I didn't wake up yesterday and start doing this shit. Like, you know, this is years of building bricks and stacking bricks. Yeah. You know, so like, I mean, I guess I'll get into when it's my turn to actually talk about it. But like, you know, my version of success changed very often over time. So I'm curious to know who is the target audience for this, who should be ready to listen and be ready to take notes for the podcast.
I have a lot of tangents to go with everything that you just said. So there was one part where you said, born to be an entrepreneur. In my solo podcast with Jeff, he talks about how he was in Mummy's stomach when they were working at the restaurant. And so literally he was born
29 years of experience.
Yeah, 29 years of experience as an entrepreneur because he was in the restaurant.
Correct.
When he was born. And then you also talked about our own versions of success. So I think that a lot of times people compare themselves to others. Like they compare where they are now to where they see other people are. And that shouldn't be the case. Success should be you comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. So you're on, and I think Steve Harvey had this, when he talks after his shows, he talked about this, where it's like, you can't compare yourself to Oprah, or you can't compare yourself to Issa Rae or all these other people, because each one of them have their own unique journeys, their own unique experiences, their own unique upbringings. And so their path from start to finish is different from where you started and where you finished. So if you started from the bottom, like you started in the mud, and then you end up, from the streets to the suites, and like now you're a CEO, that is your own personal journey, and you can't compare that to anyone else's. And so I think that each person, like I said, has their own unique journey and their own unique purpose and their vision for life, and you shouldn't compare it to other people. Yes, you can be inspired, you can admire what they've achieved and what they're accomplished, but you should compare your own self to who you were yesterday and consistently improve day by day.
Yeah.
And then the last question about the target audience. So my target audience is us, pretty much. It's college educated, mainly Caribbean millennials. So millennials would be within the, late 20s to early mid 30s. So people who are currently, in potential life transitions where maybe you are thinking about buying your first house, or maybe you just got married, or maybe you're starting to have kids, or you've been working for 4 or 5 years, and now you might be disillusioned by corporate, and so you want to start your own thing. So it's like having these life experiences of people who are learning how to really adult. And a lot of these things, even when it comes to having kids and raising kids, that's something that it just felt so like out of reach for us, like something that like you can't even envision yourself. And so when we start to see our peers with kids around us, you realize that there's no playbook for raising kids. Like there's no preparation. Like you didn't go to school to learn how to raise a kid, or you didn't go to school to learn how to manage your finances. There's all these things that we're dealing with as millennials. And as we hear the stories from other people on how they're navigating it, like for our friends who have multiple kids and trying to balance entrepreneurship with, spending time with your family, or making sure that, you have a good relationship with your significant other, those kind of things, like being able to balance that. Or for women, being able to balance, moving up in your career, but also starting a family or being there for your family. I think that this is the age right now of late 20s to early 30s where a lot of people need help with these things, and they would just want to be inspired, or they want to have an example of what they could strive for, because you can't be what you can't see.
That's clean. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. There's something that you said that I want to highlight. And
what was that, Mikey? Oh, you're snapping?
Yeah.
I thought you were doing that. Can you snap?
Whoa, you can't?
Wait, snap in the mic. Let me see.
Wait, snap.
Where your snap is sharper.
Whoa.
We're going to have to teach you how to snap off air.
Do you know what it takes to make the snapping sound?
Let's talk about it afterwards. What were you about to say?
No, because I'm really good at teaching. No, I'm really good at teaching people. Like I taught my students how to snap. Anyways.
That's good.
Trying to be funny.
So you saying you snapped?
Yes. Yeah.
You snap? Okay.
Yeah. So something you said about comparing yourself to who you were yesterday.
And let's let that segue into what you're working on too.
Okay. I think that's that's strong advice. That's really that's strong advice. I think that's really good advice. Also, when people, because I want to speak a little bit about comparing yourself to others, because I think that's one of the worst parts of social media, is that we spend so much time looking at what other people have. We spend so much time looking at their highlight reel. We spend so much time seeing them in their glory and shine. And we look at our own lives and say, where is my glory? Where is my shine? Where is my attention? Where are the fun things that I'm doing? And I think that could be very toxic, because, and this is something that's been said many times, people would post their highlight reel but not their low light reel, because, and I think I was speaking to you about this, Maki, or it might have been someone else, but if we were to be in a room with 100 successful people, and, and we were to walk around and say, what do you do? Everyone would gladly say what they do, how they did it, how successful they are. And we're like, man, I wish I had that in my life. I wish I had that amount of money. I wish I had those clients. And we were like, that would be really good. But if we were to take some time and write down on a sheet of paper everything that we've been through in our lives, the struggles, the pain, the rejections, the disappointment, and we were to write everything down that caused us harm, that made us insecure, and put it on a sheet of paper, and we're to ball up that sheet of paper, and everybody were to throw it to the front, and you just had to randomly go and pick up someone else's problems. I know for sure that most people would not be able to live a day in someone else's shoes if they were to read all the problems that they're facing, all the insecurities that they have, the depression that they go through, the family drama that they have, right? And so they would quickly put that someone else's paper down, and they'll go look for their own.
Oh yeah.
And I think that the same thing should apply for success as well. If you don't want someone else's problems, then don't ask for their success. And you should work on resolving the skeletons that are in your closet and work on creating the beauty that is your life. And I'm a firm believer in that.
You snapped.
I snap?
You snapped. You snapped.
And so you mentioned segueing to what I'm working on. There's a lot of major updates that I can give. Most of them would be premature if I were to give it. So I do want to share some public-facing projects that I'm working on that I'm really excited about.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Some public-facing projects that I'm working on is, with Barbershop Speaks, we host intelligent discussions inside barbershops and beauty salons. And right now we're in the middle of a series called My Money Matters. And
that's an alliteration, by the way.
I love alliterations. And I'm really excited about this series because the topic is so important. Money makes up so much of what we think about and how we feel about ourselves. And money and understanding money, I believe, is one of the most important things you can understand in life, because so much of how we want to live, the things that we want to do, we want to have options. And without money, you limit your options severely. So that's why the topic of money is so important. And that's why we're speaking about it inside barbershops and beauty salons. So we are planning an event in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, a Barbershop Speaks conversation called My Money Matters.
Some people call it Chocolate City.
Hold on, wait, this is new.
Yeah, this is new.
So it's gonna be My Money Matters
in DC,
like a part 2 of the first one that we did, obviously.
Correct.
But that's different from the other event where you wanted to bring in like people who work in government. Or was that the same conversation?
Oh well, it's a similar conversation, yes. And so that's another.
For the people who weren't at that first conversation, can you explain what that conversation was?
I'm not sure how much liberty I have to share, but
like you're a politician.
The first conversation?
No, the second conversation.
No, not specifically what y'all talked about, but what, like the conversation itself, like give us context around it. It's just because Maki said she was involved also, so. Yeah,
I moderated that conversation.
Yeah. So Maki, I'm trying to figure out, all right, so it's a series, My Money Matters. And so it's a continuation of the series, yes. I thought we were speaking about the one that we're planning on doing in the government building.
So you're having 2 events in DC?
Potentially.
Okay.
I told you this.
No, like I didn't know it was My Money Matters.
Yes, it's My Money Matters. Yeah, it's My Money Matters.
I have no idea. The reason why I'm experiencing this confusion is because we're talking about, because when I was like, Jeff, like I'm definitely down to host the next one, and you're like, based on the topic, like you want people that are knee deep in governmental work or policy.
Oh, okay.
So,
I understand the confusion.
Okay.
It's because at the time when we spoke about it, the conversation was going to be around financial literacy and national policy around those topics. And so that's why I was like, I want someone who's more knee deep in understanding policy on the federal level to either host or moderate. But there's been a pleasant turn of events where there's a good chance that we will have a Barbershop Speaks event inside the United States Capitol.
Oh, wow.
At a barbershop in the House of Representatives. And so, yes. And I'm really excited about that because it'll be the first ever of its kind in the United States history. And
yeah, let that marinate. Like, let that marinate.
That's why it's taking a long time to get the words out.
Let that marinate. Barbershop Speak is going to the White House.
Not the White House,
to
the U.S.
to
Capitol.
DC, to the Capitol.
Yes.
Let that sink into our souls.
You're about to storm the Capitol.
I'll take that.
Is it on January 6th?
And so we're still awaiting confirmation from the committee that decides these things. And I had a chance. I was just in Washington, D.C. a few days or yesterday. I just flew in last night. And I had a chance to visit the barbershop. I had a chance to meet the chief of staff of my congressperson. We did a mini tour, if you will. And so I'm really excited at the possibility of that happening. And so I really hope it happens. And so I announced it just now. And I didn't mean to because I didn't want to.
Well, this is a Noel and Co exclusive.
Yeah, I didn't want to announce it and then it not happen. But I know... there's something interesting about the universe is that when you really focus and you really aim to make things happen and you're intentional about it and you take action towards those goals, is either that specific thing will happen or something close to it.
It's the law of attraction.
It's the law of attraction. And, so I'm really excited. And so, anyways, I say that to say the conversation on national policy would most likely happen during that event as opposed to the community event that's outside of the Capitol. And so I'm just stoked. Our sponsor is Kitty Credit, and Kitty Credit will be our title sponsor. And Kitty Credit is an amazing application that helps teach kids about credit through their chores, right? And so I encourage everyone, especially if you have kids and teenagers, to download the Kitty Credit app because the founder, Evan Leaphart, he's extremely intelligent, he's business savvy, and he cares deeply about credit and cares deeply about the next generation of people not having to face the same debt and poor credit scores that our generation faced and previous generations.
You said Kitty Credit?
Yeah, Kitty Credit.
Can you spell it and provide the website or social media handle?
KIDDIE credit, KREDIT. So go on kittycredit.com and also go on Kitty Credit's Instagram. And they have major announcements coming up that I'm not at liberty to share either. So Barbershop Speaks is going on the road again, and it's really exciting because, and I wrote about this in my second book, when I started Barbershop Speaks in 2016, my goal was to have events in cities outside of Miami and to have them consistently, like Chicago, LA, New York, New Jersey, Atlanta, Boston, Houston, San Antonio, etc.
We get it. Barbershop Speaks want to take over the world.
We understand.
And if
You're trying to go global.
Yeah, we are. And
I can't wait for the day when you start naming global cities.
Well, that's a different conversation. We were planning one for an African nation last year, but you know, a lot of things went awry. Obviously, with dad and everything, just amongst other things, it's just we weren't able to make that happen. But nonetheless, we. So when I was creating the vision for Barbershop Speaks and what I wanted to do, like in my mind, I thought by year 2 we would be in a whole bunch of different cities and having events consistently. And I was very, very wrong. I was very wrong. We didn't leave South Florida for the first time until maybe 2 years ago. We went to Tampa, but it wasn't even like let's call it Natural Barbershop Speaks. It wasn't until 2022 we did a tour and we visited Orlando, Atlanta, New York, and Philadelphia. And so it showed me the possibilities of where we can go and what we can do. And it helped me realize that, you know, I have the ability to step into a new city, meet with community leaders who are already doing great work in that city, and create something meaningful and beautiful specifically for that city. So one thing that I was saying in DC to the people that I met, I told them, you know, although we're based in Miami and we have this series that we're doing, I don't want to have a Miami event in DC. I want to have a DC event in DC. And I think that's incredibly important, especially because of the grassroots nature of Barbershop Speaks. And so I'm just stoked. I'm really happy. And I know for certain, for sure, I'm 100% positive, I am convinced that this Barbershop Speaks in DC is going to be earth-shattering. And I think that we're going to touch a lot of people. We're going to change a lot of lives of the people in the room, but of people who watch it later, not only because of the education that's going to take place at the event, but also because of the people we're inviting to be in attendance as well. After all, Barbershop Speaks main pillars are education and networking. And I believe if you have those two things, then you could go really far. And so I know for certain the community event is going to take place Wednesday, September 20th at 7 p.m. And we're crossing our fingers, toes, and hair. For those who have dreads.
You crossing your pinky toes.
For those who have braids. My sister has her hair crossed.
What kind of braids are those?
Plaits.
Plaits. They're not knotless?
You know, everything is crossed that we're able to secure the Barbershop Speaks event in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Yeah, that's major. That's major.
What was the song? Clap, 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 clap. Oh, what?
Round of applause. Let me see that and clap.
No, that's good. So, do you also want to talk about how BSS is also going digital as well?
Oh, yes. Thank you for that alley hoop. Like, she's Magic Johnson, boy.
Or Steph Curry?
Yeah, she went, yeah. She went, yeah. Or shall I say Maya Moore, you know.
For all those who enjoy watching the WNBA, shout out to y'all.
No, shout out to the WNBA people are asleep on it. Maya Moore, she's a beast. Diana Taurasi, you know, Candace Parker, you know, those are just, you know, legends in the game.
Lisa Leslie,
of course. She's
Cheryl
the
Swoops.
GOAT. Say the name?
Cheryl Swoops.
Yeah, Cheryl Swoops. How you know Cheryl Swoops? You said, yo, Cheryl Swoops. Yeah, no, she's good. She's a good player. You say what position she plays? Anyways, Barbershop Speaks is moving digital, and that's also something I'm excited about.
Expanding digitally, not moving.
Correct. Thank you.
There will still be in-person events.
Thank you.
That was an example of using a more specific word, expanding versus moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we are expanding digitally because, you know, one thing that I was always hesitant to do what Barbershop Speaks is take away the true nature of why we do it inside barbershops. And it's because the barbershop is a place where people feel that they can be authentic. They're not afraid to speak their minds. They're able to speak freely without the fear of being canceled. And so that's why we chose the barbershop, because it's so authentic to us, right? And I was hesitant to expand into the digital world because I didn't want it to be like another podcast or just, another thing that people do with their cameras up. Because as I mentioned, networking is a big part of why we do what we do. At the same time, I do have to understand where the world is moving in, and I cannot pull a Blockbuster where everyone is creating content digitally, but I'm keeping us in a position where we're not scalable. And so we started what's called Barbershop Weekly Wisdom, and
You love alliteration.
I love alliteration. And we are having content that we're recording on one specific Monday, and then we're releasing clips of those conversations daily, and we're taking the full shows and we'll be releasing it as podcasts. And so we're releasing 5 clips daily, or we're releasing 1 clip each day of the week. So Monday is Momentum Mondays. I didn't want to say Motivational Mondays because everyone got Motivational Mondays. So Momentum Mondays. Tuesday is Therapy Tuesday. Wednesday is Wealthy Wednesday.
Talk about it.
Thursday is Take Two Thursdays.
Let's
That's where we put like bloopers and stuff like that.
You said take 2?
Yeah, Take
Okay.
Two. Like, Take Two. Take Two Tuesday.
You don't say.
And then Friday is Feature Fridays, where we feature the people that we have on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday shows. And so I'm stoked about it because I'm learning so much from the panel and from the people that I'm bringing on. Like, I'm bringing on people that inspire me, people that really are taking their life seriously in a way that shows that not only do they want success, but they move as if they need success. And I think that's how we have to move. And I think that's how you will be successful, is you see it as the only option. And so I'm excited for Barbershop Weekly Wisdom.
You got to want it as much as you want to breathe.
100%.
Yeah, I love everything that you said, like going back to the, like doing the event in DC, like that's so huge, so major. And I think people at home who are watching this I think the benefit of just saying it even before it happens is like, it allows people to think that is a possibility.
Correct.
Like for them to just hear it, like a lot of times we only see people when they succeed, we see the things that worked out, but not all the times we don't hear, maybe the failures. Maybe that's something that if it didn't happen, no one would ever know that that's what you were striving for. So I think just the fact that you've put it out into the universe and people hear it and they're like, oh, there's this kid that came from North Miami having conversations in those barbershops to being at the U.S. Capitol, and like just to be able to see that it helps people to open up their mind to potential possibilities for the individual journeys that they're on. So I appreciate that you shared it, even though I'm hoping that the law of attraction works in your favor, and maybe the person whose decision it is to push that forward, they watch this podcast and they're like, oh, I like him, I'm going to make sure this happens. So sometimes the world works funny like that.
And look, if the U.S. House doesn't allow us to do the event in there, then I'm going to move heaven and earth to make sure.
You gonna move what?
Heaven and earth. I'm going to move heaven and earth to make sure we do it at the White House. Because I have connections to the White House. But I have my connections to the U.S. House is much stronger. But I do see it happening. I know it will happen.
Yeah. Like I said, people can't be what they can't see. So if they see something inspirational, it might help them to be like, maybe I should start that blog, or maybe I should, do that thing.
Yeah. And I'll be remiss if I don't add one more thing that I'll be remiss if I don't add one more thing that I'm working on. It's the Ramses Noel Computer Lab in Haiti. So, you know, as your viewers may or may not know, I went to Haiti in July 2023, and it was an eye-opening experience. So, let me zoom out. All of us went to Haiti in March of 2023, and we went for the grand opening of the Ramses Noel Computer Lab, which is a computer lab that was opened inside of the Shalom Orphanage Village. And the computer lab was opened in honor and recognition of our late father. And, you know, the computer lab, you know, immediately when I walked inside, you know, I told myself this could be a place that gives birth to the next generation of Haitian leaders, of Haitian entrepreneurs. And one thing that I quickly realized is that although they do have some computers, and frankly, a lot of those computers are out of date, so we need new and improved computers, I realized that they need Wi-Fi because it's hard to operate and function in this society if you don't have Wi-Fi. So, you know, I reached out to I reached out to potential sponsors, and we all, you know, reached out to friends and family as well to see if we could get funding so we could get a Starlink device on site at the orphanage, and additionally get a tech infrastructure in order for not only the device to work, but for there to be secure measures and for there to be stronger connectivity, et cetera, et cetera. So it costs money. And there are a lot of people who donated. There are a lot of people who donated, and I'm grateful for them. And we also had two major sponsors that really pushed the ball down the field. Like if all the small sponsors were like, you know, a 3-yard run and a 6-yard run and like 17-yard outlet pass, like the sponsors in Ted Lucas of Techknowledge, also CEO of Slip and Slide Records, and Lex Pierre, co-founder of We Reach Foundation and Lex Promotions, they were instrumental in giving us that 80-yard pass so we could be in the red zone. And so
Hail Mary.
like they came in so clutch. And so I'm so grateful for Techknowledge and the We Reach Foundation, also for Tech Tuesdays at PS Social, where I ran into Ted Lucas and told him about what I'm working on. And immediately Ted was like, I'll support that. I got you. And I was like, bet. And Ted Lucas is one of those people that get things done. Oh, so Maki, you remember, I'm not gonna say the person's name, obviously, but we were at this award ceremony and there was this famous person for South Florida, and she spoke about how much she loves the community, and she was like, come up to me afterwards and give me my number. I'll give you my number and I'm going to help you achieve success or whatever. I got you. And then basically you come up to her afterwards and it's like, she looking at you like, why are you here? and a lot
big cold shoulder.
Say her name.
No. And
Nasty.
a lot of speakers do that though. Like they'll go on stage and they'll say how much they care about others and how much they want to help every individual, but they never mean it. Mm-hmm. And they only talk after the event. They only talk to the people who their peers are on stage. And if you were to try to connect with them, as they said, come up to me afterwards to connect with me, they just don't do it. And they speak about how they want to help, but they really don't, because they just want a video clip of them saying how much they want to help. You know, that's personal branding for them. I say all that to say, Ted Lucas is not one of those people. I say Ted Lucas is not one of those people. The first time I heard Ted Lucas, it was at the Black Professional Network. He was one of the speakers on stage, and he doesn't even know the story. but I was all the way in the back when he spoke, and he said, just like I heard every other speaker of his status say, come up to me if you want help, if you want to push, if you want to grow, if you are a go-getter, if you have that mentality, then you're my people. Let's see how we could all be successful together. Like, he said it very powerfully. I was like, okay. And long story short, I wasn't able to speak to him at that event. I really wanted to, but we ended up in a group chat together, serendipitously, and I DM'd him through WhatsApp, and he was like, all right, let's set up a meeting. And then we spoke, and then we were able to start some conversations. And long story short, since initially reaching out to me, he has treated me like a peer. Like, he treated me as someone he wants to mentor, someone who wants to help, and someone who's willing to use their resources to help you get to where you need to go. Mm-hmm. And so I'm grateful for Ted for that. He's that guy, and he's genuine. Anyways, the Ramses Noah Computer Lab, we were there in July with the Wi-Fi, with Starlink, and with the infrastructure that we got from the donations and from the sponsorships. And we were able to put everything together. And so I've been getting pictures from, I'll share it with you so you could, to the B-roll. I think it's to the B-roll. But I've been getting pictures from the computer lab of the education that's taking place in there. And so I'm grateful, and I know that we're truly making a difference.
And they're running the social media page, right?
Short answer is yes. I think we need a different person at the helm to run it better, but the short answer is yes.
I think when you're at the orphanage in Haiti, and I was talking to somebody, and I was explaining, they're like, oh, what is your brother up to? And I was explaining, oh, he's facilitating conversations in barbershops, and he's in Haiti taking care of the orphanage. And literally they did not believe me, because it was like all of this positivity bundled up into one. They're like, wow. Like, I think that's like, I'm just sitting here speechless, because it's like the amount of good and value that you are bringing to the world is like, it's inspirational. And like, all I can do is wonder, even though like I'm very disciplined and I try to do so much in a day, but like, and I see how you operate, and you're always, multitasking and doing different things. But I think for a lot of people, they look at it and they're like, oh, how do you have so much time to do all those things, to be a professor, to be running Barbershop Speaks, to be in Haiti, like just uplifting, Haiti's youth. Like, that is just incredible. And I just want to give you your flowers while you can still smell them.
I appreciate that. And then your eyes are actually watery right now.
Who's cutting that onion? Somebody need to put that onion away.
And
put that onion away.
And honestly,
it's because he ain't got no kids.
And look, and the world doesn't even know a lot of the other stuff that I do, like with BCG. Like,
that's a whole other world.
Like, they don't even know.
Oh, you can talk about that. But
no, I'm not going to. But
I'm not meant to be, but
but we can do more than we think we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what was the quote about like overestimating and underestimating?
People often overestimate what they could do in 10 years and underestimate what they could do in 1 year.
Wait, is it the opposite? I think it's the opposite. They overestimate what they could do in a year, and they underestimate what they could do in 10 years.
No, I think it's the other way around.
So think about like what we try to accomplish in a year. We're like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, we can do this, and then we end up not doing anything. So it's like we're overestimating what we could accomplish. But in 10 years, that's a lot of time. And so we underestimate where we can end up in 10 years if we just stay consistent every single year. But I mean, we could find the quote and but that's how I think about it.
But also, I think both can be true depending on who you are. Like, I think for the big dreamer, they probably overestimate where they can be in 10 years. And because that dream is so large and so big, they're thinking, I need to take, they're probably just overestimate what they can do in those 10 years, and they don't think that one incremental year makes a difference. And for the person who's super disciplined, they might think they could accomplish 101 things in 1 year, but in reality, 1 year is 1 year. But they don't realize how maybe you don't have to accomplish 100 things this year. If you accomplish 20 things this year, then by the time you get to year 10, that's whatever 20 times 10 is.
200?
I don't know, whatever it is.
I think, so talking about accomplishing a lot of things, I think that Maki has been accomplishing a lot of things. And she has a lot of things on her plate, whether it's...
She has it on her chest. She ready to let it go.
Whether it's her personal brand, whether it's CCT, whether it's MTC.
Yes, CCT.
I said nobody better say nothing about no LRP because I ain't got the
LRP. We give it all the acronyms.
It's fine.
Every single acronym. So I would like to give the floor to Maki so she could talk about all of the wonderful pots that she has her hands in.
Yeah, because...
Well, you got spend yourself.
Yeah.
We're not about to pay $60
She's about to
to
start talking like, so this is what I'm doing. You gotta.
Crazy. No, that's good. That's good to, to segue into what I'm working on as well. But last thing I want to say about the whole 10 years and 1 year thing, I think that's really powerful because I created the vision board that I have hanging in my room now. I think I created that vision board at the end of 2021. And it was supposed to be what my life looked like in 2022. And then as I was approaching the end of 2022, I was like, oh, this don't look like it's going how it's supposed to go. And so I realized that vision board for me, I'm not going to try to stuff things within 1 year. I'm going to allow that to be my vision for myself within the next 3 to 5 years. And so that also relieves the pressure off myself trying to create a vision board every year. Because realistically, I am a visionary. And I'm always just thinking about the things that I want to do and the impact. So the vision board just kind of stands as more of a reminder. This is the thing that you say that you wanted. And some of that has actually shifted. So yeah. So wow, what am I working on? It's a list of things. But I'll say the most important thing to me right now that I spend day in, day out, 24/7 building is Creative Culture Tribe. And I have a lot to say about it because I have a lot to say about it.
CCT, Creative Culture Tribe.
Let's get it, y'all boys.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Let's get it popping, y'all boys.
So Creative Culture Tribe exists to teach Black and brown women creators and entrepreneurs the business of creativity in Miami and globally. And I'm really passionate about it because, many years ago, I recognized there was a gap in Miami for creative spaces specifically, but then creative spaces that took it a step further that were designed for Black and brown women, unheard of. And so I wanted to create that opportunity to connect those communities because the creator ecosystem was so disjointed since 2016, forever. And even still now, the Miami landscape is still experiencing that. But I kind of want to take a step back a little bit before I fully dive into CCT, because I think this work dates back to 10 plus years ago. It is crazy. It's crazy to be like, wow, 10 years ago, I was doing the same thing. So in 2011, when I graduated high school, and I thought I was going to go to UCF immediately. I didn't. I went to Miami-Dade College. And I started taking summer classes in July of 2011. July of 2011 or something like that, August 2011. And I was walking on campus and I saw a poster sign saying, "Do you want to be America's next top role model?" And obviously at the time, America's Next Top Model was really popular.
They snapped
and
on
so
that
the fact that they use that
They did that though.
was
And that's pre-ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when I saw that, I was immediately inspired, where do I find this? I need to do this now. And I think the passion also came from when I was in high school. I was a part of a service organization called Key Club International, of which I became the lieutenant governor of Division 25A. I sound like such a nerd saying it.
You better toot your horn.
It was a service-based organization. And so moving into a space where it was talking about mentoring elementary school girls across Miami-Dade County. I was like, yo, I didn't sign up for this immediately. And so I joined Strong Women, Strong Girls, and it was it became like they had just moved to Miami, and so the chapter became about 10 of us, who to this day we are still connected. We have a WhatsApp group. And so we're actually planning on having dinner together on September 8th.
Hey.
So I'm so excited about that. And the advisor who was our advisor at Hibiscus Elementary School, one of the schools that we mentored in Miami Gardens, she's still essentially a mentor to us to this day. And we're having it at her house, the dinner.
Wow.
So like I'm very excited about that. But my passion for women and young girls started that long ago, 10 plus years ago. And so I was mentoring elementary school girls from Miami Beach to Overtown to Liberty City, Miami Gardens. So imagine I was spending time across the city in different different zip codes, different mindsets, and kind of seeing the life experience of the girls that we were mentoring. And so that first year I was just a mentor. And then the next year they created like actual leadership roles. And so I didn't go for president. Actually, I think I did try to go for president, but like everybody was trying to be nice. It was like, nah, like other people need to have positions. I hope Valerie watching this episode because I feel like to this day she still act like our president. It's so funny, but it's like a joke.
They say you're winning too much?
I don't know what was that, but like I ended up signing up to be the events and outreach coordinator because that meant I got to plan the field trips.
Yeah.
That mean I got to plan all these different things. And so when I tell you I ate, slept, and breathed Strong Women, Strong Girls.
Yeah.
Woo! Like that was just a beautiful time in my life, and I was like 19 years old. And so that was around the time 2011 when social media started popping off, right? So we were using Facebook to promote our events. We were using Facebook to get volunteers. We were using Facebook for all these different things. And at the time, I didn't see it as like being an influencer, like, you know, showing off. Like it was a mode of communication and a mode of outreach for me and for us. And so it was a beautiful time. And at the second year that we were doing it, at the end of the second year, they told us that there was no longer any funding for Strong Girls to continue in Miami-Dade. And that was very hard for us. Like we literally cried in that meeting together.
Wow. I just got sad hearing it. Like I literally felt my heart dropped. I was like,
yeah.
Wow.
And it was I was just so distraught because I knew that the girls needed a program like ours. Like we were talking about who I feel like, wow, we talked about her 10 years ago, Ayanna Pressley.
Like you're literally tearing up about this.
the congresswoman.
Wow.
Yes, and like, you know, we were talking about Ayanna Pressley 10 years ago, and we were teaching these girls about her. And so, like, every single week, we were talking about a different woman leader in history.
That's really interesting.
And also implementing exercise and all the things. So it was just amazing. So I kind of wanted to dig into that a little bit, you know, before I, like, really dived into Creative Culture Tribe. So Strong Girls was really the beginning in 2011 when I started pouring into communities in Miami. And at that time, I also planned my first event. Well, no, I planned events in high school too, but my first women-focused event called Breaking Down Barriers, and it was like, I remember that event being incredible. I worked with the graphic designer at the time, so like, you know, like did all these things, and really connect the people in the community to what we were doing at Miami-Dade. There was also a pitch competition where I think we won like $5,000 to implement a program. You got
to the bag.
Yeah, and that was really cool. I think that was my first time like pitching something for money. This was 2011, 2012. Wow. And we used that money to like, you know, do different activities. I started sister circles, like just this whole thing around community building has been a thing for me for a very long time. So it was really only like a few years after that, maybe like 2014, like when you were doing Power Circle when we were at UCF, and when I started leaning into social media marketing and things like that. And so like as I became so much more connected to what I knew I wanted to do, the term creator just wasn't a term at the time. Like no one was talking about being a creator, being an influencer. Like for the most part, at least in my circles, I realized social media was used in its purest form. And that was people sharing the great things that was happening in their life. They're using social media as a as like a gallery or a museum of their lives. And there are people that also use it for inspiration and all that. And so, you know, some years passed, and I decided like, man, I really want to get back into building community with women again. but I just don't know how to do it or what to do it. So I was still very involved in the community at the time, and I started going to networking events, and I met this one woman who had an event in what was at the time Brickell on the rise, right? Everybody knows Brickell now for like the city life in Miami. Like, people who live in Brickell are not from Miami. Y'all ain't from Miami, and so enjoy whatever, I guess. But like at the time, Brickell was really coming up, but also I noticed that Brickell kind of catered to a specific kind of audience. Nevertheless, I'm like, you here connecting, I'm a connector, let's do this. And so 2016, 2017, was sending emails to connect with people. And there's one person in particular who's building community in Brickell. I emailed her saying, hey, I attended one of your networking events. I think what you're doing is incredible. I'm actually working on building a community of creative Black women. And like, I literally have receipts, like screenshots of those emails. So I went through it the other day and I literally started crying. Oh, that was the other day when the next morning when I was like, Jeff, man, like, and I was crying about, I've been doing this trip for a long time. What's going on? And so she literally responded to me saying, hey, hi, I'm not sure if you're like reaching out to the right person. I may not be the person that you're looking for. But yes, I do have events, but my events cater to all races and all people. And so at the time, no one was talking about Black women creators. No one was talking about like creating spaces for them. It was all about everyone and what everyone is doing. How do we create spaces for? And I get it. Miami is a melting pot. Miami is the most global city in the United States of America. I understand the desire to kind of cater to the range and the spectrum of people. But also, let's be real about historically underrepresented folks. Or let's talk about those who are historically marginalized. Let's talk about those who are historically excluded out of the conversation when it comes to investing capital in those cities or in those projects. And so that's why I'm very specific about the things I did. And so it was just so challenging to find people to collaborate with at the time. So I decided that, I'm just going to have this brunch and I'm going to do this thing. And so that's when I had my first annual women's brunch at Cafe Clem. People who I am still friends with to this day were in attendance. And that was the beginning seed of Creative Culture Tribe. At the time, it wasn't called CCT. It was Makisha's first annual brunch. I, however, remember, and I'm telling this story really fast. Yeah. I'm telling this story really fast because of, just the time that we have. Mm-hmm. But at that time, I was so discouraged because there weren't the spaces, there weren't the people. People didn't care. They just straight up did not care. I was so discouraged that I decided, you know what, maybe Miami's just not the place for me. I remember telling my mentor that. I was like, Mrs. Bell, this ain't it. Like, this is not gonna work. And then that's when I had revisited DC again for the first time after many years, because y'all know I went for the first time when I was like 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. And so I was in DC and I was like, wow, like look at all these Black people. Like,
Chocolate
look at all
City.
these spaces. Like, they create spaces for us or what? Like, I can easily find a joint to go to. I can easily do all this and, still be who I am. And so I decided, for the sake of my own professional and personal growth, I'm going to move to DC. And so I left Miami. I was like, I don't see myself coming back. It is what it is. And so that's when the idea really developed into Creative Culture Tribe, because as I said within this call, I'm a builder, I'm a visionary. And so I started technically Creative Culture Tribe when I was living in DC and I was having meetups in DC. But then I had the calling for Miami to continue the work here in this city. And so I started planning Creative Culture Tribe when I wasn't even living here. I had friends that I was still connected to who were on the ground, making things happen, getting the information. And so I essentially planned this whole conference with the support and with the partnership of Bree and what's her name? Marlene as well. Is her name Marlene? Oh, girl.
You need to cut it.
Cut that part out. And so, we had our first annual summit in March of 2019. It was 75 plus women in attendance, including about like 8 vendors. But we were on such a high after that event because of the amount of people who were craving experiences like that, who were craving connecting with other women who were genuine. People have told me over years the amount of collaboration that came out of the networking that they had at the Miami Summit. It was actually at Mocha in North Miami. And so we had sponsors like Pepsi, Boxed Water, Lectrum Journals, Aunt Jackie's. Pollyanna Reed was also a good support of ours back then. And so it was just incredible. So now we are kind of in an evolved state of Creative Culture Tribe. So just so y'all have the whole backstory, y'all are also going to hear this story on my LinkedIn, on my Instagram. I'm going to be talking about it, screaming on the rooftops about how much Miami has evolved and just the kind of energy and entrepreneurialism and enterprising individuals that are here building things. Like, y'all going to hear about us. So I am now in an evolved state of Creative Culture Tribe, where back then it was about just connecting the women and teaching them to push past fear and building relationships and all those things. But now I realize our audience has now graduated from just like, I need inspiration, I need motivation. It's not just that. Right now, yes, community is still important for the Creative Culture Tribe audience, but it's also direct access to educational resources. It's connection to those resources, and it's also connection to that capital as well, so that they can actually grow and scale what it is that they're doing. And so I'm really excited about it. And this has not been posted yet, and it's fine because it's going to come out soon. But we are having our relaunch in real life event on October 28th. I'm excited to say that we are, yes. And I'm excited to say that we are partnering with West Elm South Beach. That's where the event is going to happen. Yes.
West Elm.
Yes. And, the women that are there are super incredible, and they're passionate about the work that we're doing. And so I'm excited to bring together women in Miami. And, we call this home base, like, welcome back home, sis. Like, that's going to be the vibe. But the conversations and the energy is going to be around insights from Miami's creative visionaries. And so I'm going to wait till the flyer and whatnot to come out so y'all can learn who the speakers are. But it is an opportunity for women, in Miami to come back together and experience community and grow what they're doing. And then that's going to be in preparation for March of 2024, where we're going to have our second annual Miami Summit. I'm so excited. The conversations that we're having so far, the connections that we're making, the digital programming that's going to be coming out. We have some major brand partners that we're already in conversation with that we're excited to just get things going with. So Creative Culture Tribe, teaching Black and brown women creators and entrepreneurs the business of creativity. Like, it's exciting. That's just the one part of all the things I'm working on, but that's what I'm the most passionate about. And when y'all hear this conversation, if you know Black women who are creators, who are trying to build, who are looking for a community, Creative Culture Tribe is going to be that space for them. Because while we are rooted, our roots are in Miami, period, we have a global reach. So keep that in mind as you're building what you're doing, because Miami Summit is meant to be nationally attended. But the one in October is meant for the girls that live here, because it is what it is.
For the girlies.
If you want to fly down and come to it, come through. But I just want the women in Miami right now to know that there is a space that is being created for them, that they can come home and build what they're doing, and that there's real community that exists. So, I think this is like my love letter to us, honestly.
I love that. I love that.
The way they done snatched those strong women, strong girls out of Miami. Woo!
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you would like aspire for them to attend the event? Like, dream people who, like, if they showed up, if they pulled up, you'd
to speak, like, or just
to speak, to attend?
Yeah, I mean, definitely like Pollyanna Reed, because she's someone who I met on social media when I was still rising up as a creator. And I think we met like in maybe it's the end of 2017, but probably definitely 2018, because that's when I went to Build Your Own Brand Retreat. And that was the first creative conference I've ever been to. And I was going to conference for years. Like, when I was in high school, I went to Key Club's International District Convention. Like, I've been to all these stuffy business conferences. But Build Your Own Brand Retreat really did something special for me. And so I got to connect with Tanya Rapley. I would love if she would come. Pollyanna there too. And over time, Polly and I have built like a real friendship. And y'all seen Pollyanna show on Instagram.
Y'all homegirls now.
Like,
pretty much.
Yeah, like, you've seen how she's, and so she is a boss woman, but she's also unafraid to kind of share her challenges and her struggles and just like who she is. So that level of authenticity really resonates with me, and those are the kind of people that I want in a room. Like, those who are like, they lead with authenticity. So I mean, it'll be cool if Issa Rae could come through.
It'll be nice. Come through.
It would be cool if Issa Rae could come through. Come on, sis. But I guess I have to think of more people of who I would see in attendance, but yeah, my friend Walton, Walton, please go. I'm sure she will. But I'm just it's gonna be great, and we're already in conversation with the venue that we would have it at. And for us, it's not just we're just gonna have this event here, and thank you for allowing us to rent this event space. Nah, the goal is to build long-term relationships with these partners. So I'm not gonna say what the spot is yet, but they have a really big mission when it comes to sustainability and innovation. And so I think they're the perfect partner for what CC is trying to do in March of 2024. Not trying to do what we are doing. So yeah, I feel like this is like a whole commercial of a CCT, but like, you know, that's not talking about it.
It was great.
People need to understand like what spaces are being created for them.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, we need it.
You said March 2024?
Yeah, March 2024, and October 28th is going to be the relaunch in real life event. So that's something that y'all don't want to miss, because we already have things in the works that, like, yeah, y'all gonna walk away with tangible things for your business and career ventures. Yeah,
that's a Saturday. And how can the audience help you?
Well, y'all can help by making sure y'all are following Creative Culture Tribe's Instagram page. Make sure y'all are on the email newsletter.
Creative Culture Tribe on
Instagram, and the creativeculturetribe.com. But y'all can help by responding to our emails, which some people do. You can help by letting me know what you need help with. That really is, like, that actually really is helping me, because the programming throughout the year, but also the program for Summit, is going to be based on the direct needs of our audience. So I think I do a good job of recognizing like what my audience needs and understanding the landscape, and, you know, having a pulse on the culture. I understand what our audience needs, but I also want to hear directly from them, because that's really going to help us inform our programming. So that's the help that I need. Reach out, tell me what your business is, and let's get to work.
You got it, sis.
Let's get to it.
Go off.
Yeah. So I think we had a great conversation just learning.
Rapid fire.
Let's do it. Rapid. We got 3 more minutes. Go ahead. Do you have the question?
Technically.
You want me to ask the questions?
Sure.
Pull up the questions.
All right. We do have rapid fire questions. So the topic was supposed to be about the power of personal branding, unleashing your authenticity.
Supposed to be.
But we did speak about the power of how our branding will impact the world. And we spoke about it in an authentic way. And so I think we accomplished our goal in that regard. So I'm going to ask rapid fire questions. All 3 of us will answer. I'll start with David and Makisha, and I'll end it. And then we'll just keep going in this triangle. All right. So what's the best personal branding advice you've ever received?
Nah, rapid fire.
The best personal branding.
I'm going to answer it.
Be authentic. Be yourself.
Oh. Damn, that's exactly what I was going to say too. Lead with authenticity.
Yeah.
Love what you do. All right.
Wonderful.
All right, we gotta do better rapid fire. Okay, if your personal brand had a theme song, what would it be? Rapid fire, let's go. If your personal brand had a theme song, what would it be?
Either I'm that girl. That didn't sound good, but like I'm that girl from Renaissance album.
Mine would be all I know. If I die, I'm a motherfucking legend. It's too late for my city. I'm the youngest rapping. Oh my God. Oh my God. If I die, I'm a legend. That'll be it.
Started out poor with plans to own more.
Hey.
Now we own stores and pray with the baddest.
That's so funny how you say it. Pray with the baddest. That's why I say Meek Mill still rapping like his stomach still calling with his back boy.
He hungry.
Yeah.
All right. If you could describe your personal brand in 3 emojis, which one would you choose? I'll go. There's the crying emoji. There's the plain emoji.
Yeah. That's
and there's the microphone emoji.
Okay. I would say the one with the little tear. That one.
The crying, laughing one?
No, not the crying, laughing one, but it's like the smile.
Oh, the smile with the tear.
With the one tear.
That's crazy.
Definitely the plain too. I would say that as well, and the dancing emoji.
Okay, you do like to dance, don't you?
Yeah.
Afro beats.
It's a little tiring though.
The dancing part?
Yeah.
Really?
it's
Are you looking up emojis?
1
No,
p.m.
I'm looking at my notes because I put like an emoji next to my notes.
This supposed to be rapid fire though.
All right, I'm trying to tell you the truth. So for me, it is the check mark, the green check mark.
Getting things done.
You laugh.
Getting things done.
The marathon flag one,
Okay.
That's good.
and then for Noel and Chloe, I'm thinking about logos, but it's Black Santa.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually like that.
I think that was a good round of rapid fire. We have arrived at the time where we are wrapping up this podcast. It is.
I thought you about to drop. You said we are arriving at the time that we about to drop this
We wrapping
podcast.
up
Well, can I ask
Hey.
one more question?
Oh, okay, because it's gonna come out of your account.
As you'll notice, Maki's always the one to rush us.
Over.
No, that's not when it's over. They're not gonna come in here while we're still recording.
Also, they want us to forget about time.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
All right.
describe your personal brand in 3 words.
I thought you just asked that.
No.
3
I said
emojis.
3 emojis.
Is that tired?
That is dire. It's necessary.
I
Describe
just
your
want to be
personal
clear
brand.
whose account is not coming out. not coming out of mine.
You want to start?
Yeah. My personal brand in 3 words is purpose, worth, and value.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's that serious.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, time out. Well, you don't think that's good? All right, we should have ended the podcast.
Well, I would need to think about 3 words, but the reason you said purpose, worth, and value is because that has been your
Thing
mantra
forever.
all the time.
Correct.
For me, it's not necessarily 3 words, but my mission is to bring joy to the world. So whatever that looks like.
It doesn't sound like 3 words. All right,
I said it's not 3 words, but I'm saying that's my mission.
We'll
is to-
come up with the 3 words on off the air. we'll come with 3
My
words.
3 words are bold. That's what I got.
Okay.
courageous.
And confident. BCC, boy.
We love acronyms over here.
But we want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of On Air with the Noels. Make sure y'all tap in, listen to the other episodes, give us your feedback. What do you want to hear us talk about? This was a good episode of updating you all semi what we're working on. There's obviously a lot more behind the scenes, but you know, this is the time that we have for today. We're so hyped to be in community with you. Make sure you tap in.
And we back, and we back,
Hey,
back,
yeah.
and we back. It's Noel season, baby.
Hey.
Period.
Joy to the world.
Period.
I'ma see you next time.